Hello and welcome to this edition of Crossover. I'm Xi Xiaojun.
Hello from Beijing. I'm Louisa Li.
40 years.
40 years.
40 years of reform and opening up policy that was adopted in China in 1978. And today, because we are going to have a series of special programs focusing on the 40 years changes in the demographic of the economic scene and also in personal life. And today we'll be focusing on foreign companies, multinational companies coming to China.
The economic reform ushered in a period of great change. And like you said, we're going to be focusing on the foreign business aspect of it today.
Yeah. Now, we'd like to talk about what are the changes they've been witnessing in the past 40 years. And in the studio today, we're now joined by three ladies. And we have Shelley from Coca-Cola.
Yes.
We have Maggie from Nokia.
Yes.
Okay.
Hello.
And we have Jane from Shell.
Yes.
So out of the three companies, you take a guess. Which company is the oldest company?
I would guess it would be either Coca-Cola or Shell.
Tell us the answer.
Right. So actually, Shell's first entry into China was before 123 years. So it was
120 years. I wouldn't have guessed that.
So that's like in the
90s.
1890s.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. So I'm proudly claiming that we will be the oldest in China.
Yeah.
Yeah, but Coke was 1927.
1927.
Yeah,
cool.
first
That's quite
entry
early.
into China.
Right.
Yeah.
But Nokia, you don't have a story.
1984.
1984?
Yes, when I was born.
Okay. Right.
Everybody's first phone was born.
Okay, exactly. Yeah, that was secure.
Yes.
So that's the entering the Chinese market in the modern sense.
Right.
Nokia entered Chinese market after the reform policy was taken. That's in the 80s, in 1984.
Exactly.
When did you come back?
Late 70s.
Late 70s.
Yes.
That's right after, again, the policy was taken.
Correct.
Was adopted.
Yes.
And Coca-Cola?
Same. So we announced coming back to China back in 1978, which is like December 20th, right after the China and the U.S. Connected again, right? So the real product entering into the market is 1979, January.
1979. Got a few pictures over here.
I think it's
Maybe,
this one. This one. That one is the first product. Yeah, product entering into China. Actually, it's by train shipped from Hong Kong to Guangzhou and Beijing at that time. So it's 3,000 cases.
And you can tell these cans are still the glass cans, right?
Yeah.
Yes, it's glass bottles.
So this is like...
That was the first local advertisement. This one is 1990, so it's the first ad produced locally.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that one is I think it's Times magazine, right? They just took a photo for a consumer, Chinese consumer, standing behind a gray wall and having a Coke bottle on hand.
Well, I mean, Coca-Cola, you bring all these old memories back, and I'm sure Nokia can do the same with all these models that we've used ourselves, actually, personally.
I think my first cell phone was a Nokia.
Right.
It was the one that you can snap open, the cover.
All
Like
right.
the one in Matrix.
Right.
Right.
That's,
That was a really popular
that was
one.
really popular.
Kind of
right.
The sliding
the
one.
tail popping out.
Yeah, the sliding one.
Right.
That was one
Nokia
of the
phone,
first.
actually, we heard so many people telling us, oh, my first phone.
First phone.
Yes, is Nokia phone. And that was carry out, actually, I think, lots of passion, lots of personal experience.
Oh, yes.
Right, and how these people individually engaged with the world, with the life.
That's Nokia. And the first Shell that I had was...
Actually, I show you a small model here. It's one of the replica of our gas station. This is the retail station. And what is missing is the canopy and the pump.
So this is the gas station.
What do you sell? Do you sell cookies or what with the...
No, we sell... actually, we first entered into the country selling kerosene. And it was whole nation.
Oh, yeah.
It was like what they call the foreign oil. And it brings light to everybody's household. And then when China was our mobile started, we sell the gasoline in the national network.
Well, I mean, sometimes when we talk about this, and when you get more senior in age, and you like to take a retrospective and all these about memories, but sometimes we forget where we came from. And when we talk about these, and these pictures actually all live in our memories, but you almost forget that it's only 40
years ago.
Years ago.
Yeah, exactly.
But all these transformation of the whole society, of the country's economy, and also our personal lives, and also the corporate lives, they've been changing every day ever since then.
Yeah, and can we go back a little bit and talk about how it was like, how was the economy like then, when you first entered China?
At the time, in the late 80s, most of the governmental employer pays a college graduate around, the standard salary at the time was 62 RMB a month.
When was
a
that?
month. That was like 1988, 1989. So if you work in a government agency, you get paid 60 RMB per month. Adding up a little bit benefit, it gives you about 100.
Yeah.
Sometimes 150. So that's the average income. Yeah. So in those days, if you think about that, translating into US dollars, it's
10.
or more than that. It was 1 to 4 at the time.
Yeah, 1 to 4 at
1
that
to
time.
4,
Yeah,
so
that's true.
Right.
So it's,
Yeah.
you know, close to negligible kind of level.
So is that the reason why
So-
you came? Because the labor cost was so low?
No, actually, Shell was invited back by the Chinese government because China then wanted foreign investment as well as technology.
Same story here with the Coca-Cola?
Similar, yes. We partner with Coca-Cola. So Coca-Cola is still one of our biggest partner here in China. And I still remember when we reading all those histories, when we first came back to China and selling the Coke product, it was limited to certain hotels and also this foreign embassies. And you can only buy Coke using US dollars, foreign currencies, or those foreign currency certificate at that time. So we're selling at RMB 4 per bottle at that time. So it's like $1.
How much was that?
4 RMB per bottle.
That's extremely expensive.
At that time, yes, it's $1 per bottle. And nowadays, we still sell at like
Still
3
4.
RMB.
Still 4.
Yes.
Or even lower.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Maggie, when Nokia came to a new market, it's not like the other two. They were here before, a long time ago, but it was new to Nokia. What were the most challenging issues facing Nokia at the time?
Nobody has ever experiencing such a large scale in terms of population. It's early stage of a mobile telecommunication deployment, let's put it that way. So everything is new, technology is new, market is new, consumer, nobody knows how they would like to use mobile phone technology. So everything, I guess, new is a daily challenge for the company. And also for consumers, it's very hard for them to accept at the very beginning mobile technology, because mobile phone was once very expensive, kind of like luxury items. Exactly. I think at that time, mobile phone once cost about 6,000 renminbi.
No, it's way higher than that.
It's way higher than that. Right.
Not like Coke.
Again, back to the average income of government officials,
100 yuan.
60 something.
RMB, yeah.
100 yuan.
But was the market ready for this kind of technology at the time in the 80s?
Right. So late 80s or mid-late 80s, when people start to move around, when business starts to emerge and move around, so these need becomes really emerged very, very massively, very fast. So like Nokia, like other mobile phone companies all come into China at the same time, compete very hardly. But at that time, I have to say, people really embracing this new technology. And for the company, the main challenge is there's never experience servicing billions of people.
So that's the market, I mean, a huge market, that's good news. But when it becomes too big, then that poses the challenge, and too fast to the company.
Exactly.
Because in Europe,
we talk about millions.
Now we're
we talk
talking
about
hundreds of millions at least, right, to start with.
Right. In Finland, it's 500 million people.
The scale of the market and technology itself, that were the some of the big challenges facing Nokia.
for us, the simple, very simple infrastructure was just missing. You know, coming back in the late 70s, trying to find a commercial building to host any staff.
An office building.
It's not there. So actually, from through our partner and the NDRC, we actually found a small courtyard in the Summer Palace.
To be the office.
The Summer Palace.
Summer Palace.
What a privilege! And then you started your office in the Summer Palace, and you are now complaining about that.
Sure. I'm still very proud that part of my career I was managing it. You know, so, but it was
I'm just glad you didn't mention the Palace Museum, the Forbidden City. You have an office there.
It was a nice residential kind of area, very cool, relaxing. But if you talk about telecom, utilities, all these kind of office setup, it's just missing. Yeah, so that's very simple infrastructure.
Infrastructure and the common vocabulary between you and the other party, the other side of the negotiation.
How about
we probably have something in common as well, because we need to build up the plant, right, the manufacturing plant. So how to go through all those local government policies and processes at that time, which is quite difficult because it's first manufacturing factory need to be built. The bottling plant, yes, need to be built. And also,
where was it?
After we come back in 1979, so started in Beijing actually.
In Beijing.
Yes, so Beijing is the first bottling operation that we are going to build at that time. So, but again, the things in common between Coca-Cola globally and Coca-Cola at that time is how to bring a very good beverage product to Chinese consumers, right? So the vision is in common, but the detail process, of course, there's a lot of debate, negotiation, and everything. And talking about consumer behavior, because Coca-Cola globally, if we look at North America, the consumer behavior habit is so different versus Asian and Chinese, right? For Coke product, globally we say that put Coke in the cold fridge at the 4 degrees, it tastes the best.
We didn't have that.
Yeah. Where's the cooler? Where's the cooler?
With ice. Coke is always with ice, right?
Where's the cooler at that time? So, and how to invest ahead of the market to make sure that we do have the Coca-Cola standard of all those products versus Chinese consumers, how we find the product fit for the consumer needs. And even today we are talking about all those with all the consumer change.
What about the other side? Because now we're seeing 3 Chinese ladies sitting here representing 3 multinational companies. What was it like in those early years? Was it an issue at all? Talents, was it an issue at all?
Yeah, really, I mean, I remember in my early days, there were times when I was in charge of recruitment.
HR?
HR, yes. In those days, when I first joined, all the senior leadership positions were held by expat. And sometimes the functional professionals as well, including, for example, the chairman's secretary is a Hong Kong lady. So in those days, finding Chinese who have fluent English was already difficult, let alone foreign companies were perceived as, you know, you're going into the free market. There's no job security, no lifelong guarantee. You can be laid off any second day. I mean, that's in the late 80s and early 90s. So multinationals initially had to really understand what can we do to attract the local talent.
Didn't people want to join foreign companies at the time?
So we found that actually the talent market is so big. There are always young people who are passionate, who are willing and more prepared mentally to try out the world in a different way. And those adventurers, they are interested. But you have to pay a premium. For example, in the early 90s, you talk about a governmental employee getting about 200 RMB, and you join a multinational, a big brand, it could be 2,000. Yeah, just 10 times premium. And that's the premium you have to pay to get people to be more open to have a try.
But still low compared to 2,000, say, back in the States.
It's still, yes, comparatively.
Yeah.
You change it into dollars, it's still very cheap. Yeah.
Same
Right.
situation?
Very similar. My first job is board secretary. I learned English from school, so I thought I'm so qualified for the job. But the first hour sitting into the meeting, I heard nothing, basically. Just hello and goodbye.
You were
And
jet lagged.
I was like jet lagged, really. What's going on here, basically? So that is the talent situation and talent market level. There is no professional. And I don't know how to be a board secretary. And actually, these two words are so near to me. What is that? So.
But how did you get the job in the first place?
I speak English.
All right.
Speaking English is such a premium.
That's true.
And especially you can talk to any foreign management team, and that's really. So there is no professional, and there is no kind of people you could learn, mentor you could learn from, and even lots of things are so new. I remembered my first job, my boss asked me to make a coffee for him, and I don't know what is a coffee. And I tried to make coffee according to my knowledge from the film, and he said, this is a poison. And he just, he made up his mind. He said, there's no hope here. So he hired a Singapore secretary lady to Beijing and trained me and the two other ladies. And then that is our first experience as trained professional life.
So that's only one story, but that's also a reflection of what is happening
at that time.
At the time.
What is the professional level?
Yeah, I guess when we talk about language, it's not just the verbal language. We're talking about the language of communication, the legal language, the managing language, the language that everyone can understand whether they're from the same culture or education background or not.
Right. Yeah, and in terms of talent pool, because you mentioned like when you first joined the company, it was mainly expats. How about Coca-Cola? Was it mainly expats as well?
At that time, yes. But good thing is that when we built all those manufacturing plants for the franchise bottler system, you don't need the English capability. Basically, you only have several key quality persons to ensure the quality of the product. It's mainly in Chinese language. So, but for the Coca-Cola head office and R&D center and the concentrate plant, those days are all expatriates. Yeah.
Again, don't forget that we're only talking about, say, 30 years ago,
Exactly.
35
Yes.
years ago.
Yes.
Just see what's been happening in the past 35 years.
Such a drastic change, just like 30, 40 years ago.
Drastic change.
Let's take a break. We'll move on with our journey. You're watching Crossover. We'll be right back.
Our discussion continues. Stay with us.
当时要卖可口可乐，一定是你需要单位介绍信，也需要这个定向有，它销售的是有定向的，不是说任何人都可以买得到。那么一定是一些涉外酒店、一些涉外单位、一些旅游景点，一般消费者都需要通过外汇券的方式来买。那么我们可以看到，在过去很多年轻人在不同的地方，比方在旅游景点在一些婚宴场合，在一些公园，他们都举了一瓶可口可乐，在炫耀它跟与众不同的感觉。我们进入中国最大的问题就在于，消费者喝到的饮料都是常温的当时年轻人只是追求时尚，所以当他们喝到不合格的可乐，那形成的反差可想而知。所以我们讲，当务之急，我们第一个就要开始推展冷饮文化。推展冷饮文化，我们训练我们的人，可口可乐最佳饮用的温度是在3度到4度之下，才能体现它原始风味。
Welcome back to studio. And earlier we talked about the first phase of the economic reform. Now let's talk about what's the driving force behind the change.
Exactly. Because we talked about all these challenges, either as the language issue in multi senses, or the talent issue and the technology, the size of the market and everything. But yet again, we have to face the fact that you're still here in China, operating greatly in China. So what do you think are the biggest contributing factors?
Whenever our global CEO come in and think about this is 1.3 billion people market, right? If everybody drink one Coke a year, it's a lot of
everyone uses that
beverage
story.
already, right?
Everyone uses that theory.
Yeah, but on the other side, if we look at the consumer trend, it has been changed significantly in the past several years. I mean, particularly the past 10 years, because all the consumers can access to a lot of global products, and the consumer behavior has been changed so dramatically because of the digitalization.
What was the biggest change, say, if you compare consumers today back to 30, 40 years ago in China?
Chinese consumers or Asian consumers generally want to try new things. So you continuously need to have new items going into market which fit for consumers.
But that's for a consumer's product.
Yeah.
But
So
it's not like with sales.
Yeah, absolutely. Because for us, our products and our services, actually solutions, what we call, actually is targeted not only for consumers, but also for industrial customers, and sometimes government. For example, our joint project in the Ordos Basin producing tight gas, and that was a natural gas supply to support the Beijing 2008 Olympics, to make the city greener and cleaner for the opening. Yeah, so we do have industrial customers, governments, and we also have consumers. What I see actually, if I look at the evolution, what remains, doesn't change, is the fundamental needs for energy solutions. However, the focus of demand really changed. The initial focus was on economics. Is your product cheaper? Does it give me a better return? Is your lubrication into my machine means I have a lower maintenance cost? Gradually, you see the consumers are looking more for experiences, quality. And nowadays, if you look at the consumers or our customers, they're far more higher awareness about sustainable development. About, as a corporate citizen, what is this company doing, not only for me as a consumer, but also for the community and the country as a corporate citizen.
This is interesting because it's almost like the spending habits or consuming habits of consumers in China. Transformation process has been compressed into the 30 years, range of 30, 40 years, which might have happened in a different market in, I don't know, 100 years. But when you educate the market, when they develop, when they become more mature, and now they're almost in parallel with the rest of the world, it all happened in that 30, 40 years time.
Every few years, the market and the consumer changes very dramatically. So at the very beginning, it is kind of like a total open and embrace. So trying different things, embracing and open different choices, getting experience. And then the second phase, they are demanding. They are raising new requests. Maybe this request is not existing elsewhere in the world. So they've been asking for raising their voices. And then when they raise the voice, it may not be fulfilled. And then they said, hey, I'm going to do it myself. So technology is maybe invented in China, developed in China, but populated around the world. So that's quite normal already in IT and ICT sector.
Now, if we have a roundup of what we talked about, when you first started your business in China, was the language gap, the understanding, and this lack of talent. There was the lack of all these rules and regulations, and the environment was totally different. That was a new market to all of you. And I guess language is not an issue anymore. Spoken language is legal language, and basically we can reach a understanding of what we're talking about, right? What else? The size of the market, I guess you're totally used to it. And this is something new. And glass ceiling, it might still be there, but not as bad as in those days. Just look at yourself, you know. We have 3 Chinese ladies representing 3 multinational companies. what about the fact that working for a multinational company? How's that perception? Because in those days, in the 80s, in the 90s, it was something, you know, wow, you're working for a foreign company.
Yeah, working for a big
so
company.
what is the picture like now these days?
For us, Nokia, it is a kind of in the job market, like it is a very, very welcoming choice for young people because we're hiring globally. Like yesterday, around the world, through our own social media, we got a culture discussion. In Nokia, how do you define respect? 7,000 employees from the world cross different time zone, discussing this word with our CEO and the management team. And young people, young R&D engineers, they love that part. They can see how Pakistan people talk about respect and how U.S. telecom is perceiving this respect. So that's very exciting, and inspiration, experience is the way they want to get from the foreign company like Nokia, openness.
So again, if we come back to the topic today, because 30 years ago, 35 years ago, they had difficulty in finding the right one to make coffee. And now you're having a conference together with your colleagues from around the world, and everyone takes it as a norm. No one would be surprised that what is happening in China is what you see in America, in Europe, in any part of the world. And that's the progress that you made.
It's actually more than that. You know, if I look at it, the first generation of foreign company workers, basically a majority of them are people like us who studied social science, language. Yeah, and then you come into the company, you learn your trades. You get a professional training from the company and you grow.
And you were eager to learn.
We were very eager to learn. So if you look at the value proposition that was offered to us, first, the big premium on cash. And for, cowboys like us who are willing to try something, doesn't matter. If it fails,
Try something else.
Try something else.
Right.
Yeah. So learning development, career exposure, that kind of investment was crucial. And then you come to the second gen, where the foreign companies becomes very hot. At the times when we go to the campus, it's like for every job opening we have, you receive on average 10,000 CVs.
Wait, say that again. One job.
10,000 CVs for one job.
When was that?
And that was in the late 90s to early millennium. Yeah, so those were the 10 years where really everybody was looking at, you can't look at these foreign employees. They walk into Guomao and they, dress up and do all these international travel.
That's what we see in movies,
absolutely.
right?
Yeah, and they didn't see how we get, the night.
We don't care.
Yes. And then if you reflect on the post-80s, 90s generation, their needs are very different. So they look at you first. Do they even apply for you? It's not how much you pay. It's as a corporate image. Is this
You mean for now?
Yes, for now. Is it a DaaS industry? Is it a very old industry? Or is it a techy, fancy?
Oh, yeah. Is it a NASDAQ feature?
Absolutely. So
when you talk about your talent
kind of
pool in your company, is there a shift of expats to locals? I mean, what is the ratio now?
Huge. When we first came in, 100% leadership jobs, right from supervisory level, were expats. And now 99% are locals. And the top jobs are also occupied by Chinese.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's very similar. Yeah, very similar. Because if we say that 40 years ago, that was because of the knowledge gap and professional gap, so the company is majority run by expatriates. But to Jing's point, I think nowadays China is such a good developing market to get learning from this market particularly. So all the expatriates are willing to take the assignment in China to get experience and move over to the other countries. On the other side, I think to the post-90s and 2000, those kids, a young generation, young talents, they are also looking for what is this company mean to me, what I can contribute to that company. So it's social responsibilities and the corporate image definitely is very important. So as a beverage company, what we do, for instance, like for the water. So water is one of the key critical items for us, and how can we as a corporate citizen to contribute in the cleaning of the waters, how to make sure that all the wastewater treatment and all the water we put into our beverage can finally contribute. So the water replenishment is one of the big kind of social projects that we are doing. So for a lot of young talents joining us, not only because of it's a global company, you can get the international kind of experiences elsewhere, and you can move up the ladder, but also all those social responsibilities and corporate citizen part of the sustainability is one of the key critical attractive area, I think, for the young talents. So this has been changed a lot, because thinking about 40 years ago, people worry about how can I have enough food, enough clothing, and all those kind of things, moving up to how I care about the environment, care about the sustainability. Yes, it's very, very different.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So at the same time, it's not just, we don't really see that many expatriates working in China, but we're also seeing your colleagues from China, Chinese colleagues, working as expatriates in other markets.
Exactly, yes. Very
that is
true.
what is happening.
That is what is happening, and my personal experiences has been, I've been rotating, working in Brussels as well as Berlin and Washington in the past few 20 years of career life. 30 years ago, my first international trip to Geneva, and crying the whole plane out because, yes, I was so afraid.
The food was so bad.
I was so afraid, and I said, I want to get out from the plane. I don't want to go there anymore. The whole, 12 hours, I cried. I don't know I can cry that long. And seriously, afraid. And today...
You fly every day.
Fly everywhere, every day, right? And then it's such a big change, such a big...
it's all about integration. It's all about Chinese talents becoming a part of the international talent pool. Okay, let's take another break. We'll continue our conversation from probably a different angle.
Yeah. And for more information about Crossover, make sure you follow us on Facebook and Instagram. We'll be right back.
当时呢，就是大学毕业，国家是分配工作的，那么分配到哪儿就去哪儿。在人们的观念里，这就要是干一行爱一行，并且一干呢就是一辈子。在人们的眼里，这叫铁饭碗，就是铁饭碗是最牢固的也是最可靠的。所以呢，我是放弃了自己的铁饭碗，去了一个全新的新兴的企业外企。那个时候，像我这样就是会英文，然后又愿意体验外国公司的文化，并且舍得放弃自己的铁饭碗的人，才会来外企。我在公司呢工作了20多年，亲眼见证了壳牌公司在中国的全面发展和对改革开放的一个贡献。
Welcome back to the studio. And earlier we talked about how the economic reform has been in full force for the past 40 years in all aspects. But how about now? What are the competitions that we're facing today?
Exactly. I mean, what I'm also interested in is, when you first entered, it was like you were invited back to China. You were invited back to China. And you were totally welcome to have your business, your operation in China. So sometimes maybe it was some easy days, although you also were facing some challenges like we talked about earlier. So what was taken for granted sometimes even, probably the situation is kind of different today. Do you have that?
Yeah.
Jane.
Yes. I think if I look at the change of the country, what hasn't changed really is that eagerness for prosperity and commitment to progress as a nation. However, if you look at 40 years ago, when we first being invited back, what was taken for granted, and we also take quite a lot of pride, was our advancement in the technology, the modern management, the way of working we have. And we bring a lot of value to the government for that. And it gave us quite a lot of open respect. It gave quite a lot of open space from our counterparts to learn. So that is taken for granted. And therefore, if not careful, over time, you could build a bit of a corporate arrogance. You feel, you know, I'm superior, I'm better. Yeah, but what I notice is, you know, that being a Chinese, I really feel proud about this. It's the ability to learn fast. And the ability and the gut to take risks, to try new things, be prepared to fail, and then recover and move fast. So that one really, I think, for any multinational, is very humbling. So nowadays, you cannot just take it for granted.
That certain point when multinational companies realize that China, the Chinese market, it's somewhere positioned in the supply chain, global supply chain. When you first started, it might be down in the downstream, and then China was in the position to learn from the experiences of the rest of the world. But somehow there was one point they realized China is actually also contributing to the building up the whole system. Same thing here?
Previously, people would say that, okay, China, you just follow the global standard, you just go what the developed market has been already developed, so you follow the process and steps. And gradually, people question why China is different. Why is different in the past several years? Now people came to China saying that...
Why are you not different?
No. What has been happening in China market? Tell us. Yeah, what does that mean to us? And what should we reform from a global perspective to find a suitable product for China market?
In Shell, we believe that if we are not successful in China, then long run, we will no longer be a multinational. So you see the change in mentality. Initially, you're just one of the profit center from one specific location. And now you see you actually define quite a part of the future of the company.
It's a driving force.
It's a driving force, and particularly in the energy industry, if you look at the sheer demand, the demand of China is still growing.
Largest importer.
Yes, the urbanization and everything. And we don't have enough indigenous supply in fossil fuel area. So for energy, you also look into what the future looks like. What is the diversification of energy solutions?
Like green energy, renewable.
Green energy, renewable, you know, you name it. And the future is undefined. But whatever happens, you can guarantee that happens the fastest in this market. So you really need to be on top.
So it's almost the Chinese market is now taking the lead.
Taking the lead, yes.
In terms of this lead, I think in our sector we find a couple of trends. First of all, the competition is definitely taking the lead. So more dynamics, more competition.
From local brands.
From local brands. Yeah, price level, quality level, as well as even the standards, global standards, technology standards. So all fronts, the competition, I wouldn't say it's a fierce, I would say it's a comprehensive. Currently today, we see a big word called cooperation. So it needs a global cooperation, and China is part of the value chain of everything.
So again, I mean, from what you said, all of you, that China, the role of China in the demographic of all the three companies is now different compared to 30, 40 years ago. Like you said, Jin, it was a market to start with, but now it's been integrated in the whole picture in a way cannot be imagined, I guess, in those early days. The question is, imagine one day we don't have Coke anymore to drink. We don't really have, Nokia supported, sponsored technology to make use of, or maybe no shell.
You definitely need shell to power on your life.
So the question is, if labor cost was one of the driving reasons at the time when you made the decision to come to this market, and now it's going up. So things are changing, evolving. Would it be possible that one day you're going to pull out of the Chinese market at all?
Definitely not for Coke.
You'll be here.
For sure.
And
for sure.
The position of China in your global supply chain is going to be there.
Yes, because with now 98% of ingredient of our product actually is locally purchased.
Wow.
And because it's beverage product, it's heavy, right? You cannot ship from somewhere else to China market. You have to be present. And also to understand the Chinese consumers and provide all those leading beverage to them is a vision. So the quality of the product, the safety of the product, the sustainability, and all those are the key to winning the market. Yes, we for sure will be here, and we are increasing the investment, by the way, into this China market.
Financial scope here in China.
Yes.
How about you, Maggie?
Nokia actually positioned China in the short term as a birthbed for innovation, the leading market scale with a very big scale, scalable market, as well as innovation from the related adjacent markets. So with such three dynamics moving towards future, it is more about a cooperation. So we see this as a kind of like global important value chain, not only a market, but a birthplace of a future innovation.
Are you going to come up with some new models of phones?
Oh yeah, absolutely. They are talking about innovation from short term and long term. It's not only on product wise, on business model. It is also another innovation. In China, Nokia is a joint venture. It's not a wholly owned foreign company since 2017, a year ago. So it is a very, very unique character of Nokia's history and today in China.
New chapter.
No chapter, exactly, new chapter. So this innovation not only on new phones, new network, the 5G, mobile technology, right by the door, and like a transformation, digital transformation of the energy sector, of a transportation sector, like healthcare, for example. So everything connected with the digital seems like nice, right? So
in other words, you've been here all the time.
We're being here all the time.
Probably we don't notice it.
You will stay here.
It is absolutely. It's kind of like a natural essence of being.
Yeah. So, I mean, for us, the answer is very simple. We're not in a labor-intensive industry, so we never came into China for low labor cost. Really, is the belief in the energy demand is here. If anybody is determined not to go back to stone stage and live in the cave, you need power, you need energy. And we have a responsibility to provide cleaner energy, use energy in a more efficient way, and then provide diversified energy solutions and using technology into the future and build an integrated system to optimize the different sources of technology to offer the life convenience experience for customers and offer a good future for the country. So as long as people want to have their house lighted, nice living condition, will be here.
Whether you see it or not. So today we're still having a discussion about multinational companies operating in China. Probably what we're going to see in the future is we're going to still have a discussion on the set topic. Maybe they will still be invited to join the discussion. But it's not like they will be labeled as a foreign company. Multinational company. It's just...
Maybe it's going to be a collaboration of all local and foreign companies.
You don't realize whether it's a foreign company, multinational company. It's just a topic involving all these corporate companies, whether Chinese, whether local or international, Chinese or foreign.
Basically, we're living in a global world.
Indeed. Okay, thank you, ladies, once again, for coming to Crossover.
And thank you for sharing your
Pleasure.
stories.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And we'll see you again next time.
Bye.